My father sent me a letter, and in it, he wrote, I'm nervous about this movie, like raising the money and getting it made. No experience with any of this stuff, no energy, etc. But I believe it's a worthwhile story and should be done. Maybe you can help. I'd like that.
A relative of my mother's, cousin, first cousin of my mother's, who was a teacher in Worms, Germany, and through a series of events culminating in Kristallnacht, she was sent to the chambers in Poland, gas chambers in Poland, and executed, murdered. So we're trying to make a movie of that based upon her life story.
It's a very tragic time, and I think it speaks a lot to him. And he's always been very he's always been very driven about what stuff that happened in our family.
I'm mostly just happy for him. I think that it's something that kind of fuses two aspects of himself, that the family historian aspect, or the being not obsessive, because that has a negative connotation, but very acutely interested in our family's stories and legacies, and our family stories, and also the artistic aspect of making art and storytelling and being creative.
Money is not the motivator. I thought she was a remarkable woman who had idiosyncratic traits that speak not only to then, but to now. She fed all these stray cats. She rode a bicycle to work. She fed her students if they were sick. She visited them in their homes if they were absent. She had formed these nature walks with other women, other German women that were less educated and less sophisticated, and basically turned them on to poetry and nature and painting and all kinds of German culture, music. She was a very sensitive woman, and she was not particularly Jewish. And all of that changed when, I think in 1936, she was fired from her job after 26 years of teaching in German elementary schools, for being a Jew.
Well, I can't say I was happy. I wasn't like so super enthused when he mentioned he was wanting to investigate more into Herta Mansbacher
Right.
and stuff, but it's sort of took on a life of its own when he really got into it. And the more I read about the story, the more he got me into it. It's really a very interesting and really sad tale. I mean, just the idea that she's not your normal woman in a time where you are expected to be, your role is set out at that era, you know what I
Right.
mean? Of time, you are expected to do these things, and she's sort of cut her own path and made her own choices, and made a choice that I don't think a lot of people would make, even then and even now. I mean, she didn't ever want to save her own skin. She saved kids that weren't even her kids. I mean, they were her kids, you could say, in a lot of ways. And yeah, to get on the train with them all the way to her death. I mean, maybe she didn't know that was her death, but, and maybe that might even be scarier in a way.
She taught them the skills, first of all, the foreign languages and the job skills necessary to emigrate from Germany and save their lives, because she saw what was coming. And in spite of the fact that she could get her own transit visas, exit visas, she continued to stay there as she funneled these children to safety, or these families to safety. Or one of my first understandings of what it meant to be a Jew was that if you were a Jew, you were killed by the Nazis in the First World War. Second World War, excuse me. And that was the definition of being Jewish, because I knew that I somehow or another was Jewish, but I was wondering, well, what does that mean? And why are they different? And the only answer that my little pea brain could think of was, oh, well, if you were Jewish, you were a victim of the Nazis, and they killed a lot of you.
You know, culturally, I identify with being Jewish, and because we are an oppressed people, and because we have, you know, years and years and years of oppression and like slaughter, essentially, right. Genocide. There's like a pride in being Jewish that I think a lot of people forget about, and specifically like newer generations, I think they lose that pride or that incentive to maintain a legacy, and I think that's something that my dad holds very important.
So, Dad, where are we right now? In the sunny day. Whoa.
Shulaf Family Mausoleum in Salem Field Cemetery.
Right.
Paying respects to my grandparents and my parents, and my aunts, my uncles. Near my mother's and grandmother's birthday.
Happy birthday, ladies.
Happy birthday.
Love you, Dad.
I love you too, Mom. So you just go like this, and voila.
Okay.
Do you see any dust?
No.
Okay. It brings tears to my eyes because they were incredible. Not a day goes by that I don't remember with love, great love, both of them. And for that I feel very fortunate. And this says, purchased, restored, and installed December 2008 by Eric Nathan in memory of his mother Suzanne Shulaf Nathan and her family. Beautiful lives deserve the grace of colored light. And Andre subtitled it, As Above, So Below.
It's those kind of stories that are really nice to hear, like that your ancestors had a shred of decency and humanity, even when good people actually didn't know they were being kind of shitty to other people.
Right.
You know, so yeah, I'd say that's a good reason. Honestly, you know, part of me is not even sure why he's doing it. You know, but
I feel like Dad feels a responsibility.
That's the word I'd look for. Yeah.
And like because he's always like been this like self-proclaimed family historian.
Yeah.
And I think it's so important to him to tell the stories of the people he cared about and the people that they cared about, and that like without that there's no legacy.
And you know what the most interesting thing about it is? I mean, he could tell the story with a little piece of paper, but he wants to make an actual movie out of it. And
right.
you know, honestly, that the most interesting thing about that. Be careful here. We gotta. The most interesting thing about that is that it is basically a very Hollywood movie. I mean, it's what everyone would really be looking for. It has, a lot of adversity and characters who are kind of incredible without ever needing to be sort of pumped up or be beautified,
Yeah.
And I like that.
I think a lot of Holocaust stories are forgotten. A, because a lot of people, she died essentially, a lot of people were killed in that time and those stories died with them. And because it's very painful essentially the people that knew those people are dead as well, A lot of the Holocaust stories that kind of get buried under the rug are because there was so much death and trauma and sadness associated with that, event.
Right.
That people don't necessarily either A, remember them or want to rehash that pain.
By 1942, only 75 people were left, and including about several of her students, and she took those students by the hand and ordered a train for a death camp. She wouldn't leave those students under any conditions. As long as there were children to be taught, she stayed. And it cost her her life. And I think it's worthy of admiration. It's a story that needs to be told. I hope I can tell it.
There we all are. It's my fam.
Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, fam.
Yay!
I love you guys.